Welcome to Christian Conversations. I'm Pastor Mensa Otabil. And today we start a new conversation around relationship, and it's going to go throughout the month. And so we're going to talk about different kinds of relationship, but the usual one between men and women. And we would address concerns and how to make it work. And because of that, we're changing our format a little bit. We have a group of young people who are joining us in the conversation. They would also be asking questions. And I have a new person to be asking questions throughout this discussion on relationships. So we have Pastor Isra Otabil Alote.
That's right.
Who is joining us, and she would be engaging with me. Pastor Inshaw, you're welcome. She's pastor of ICGC, the Cornerstone, co-pastor with her husband, Harry.
Thank you so much, Pastor. It's good to be here. And it's also good to have our live audience.
Yes.
So we'll dive straight into it. Right from the beginning, God says it's not good for man to be alone. And so I'm wondering, how does God see relationships? How intense does he see it in our lives?
It's very interesting that from the biblical account, God definitely envisaged man to have companionship because he had exemplified that in the creation of the animals, that each one had a male and a female partner. So we would wonder why that it's not just obvious that man should also have the same factor in creation.
Yeah.
The only thing we can envisage is that the need for a partner has to be a need. It doesn't have to be just something supplied. There has to be a sense of a need for that partnership to take place. And so God observes the need in man and then responds to that need. The Bible doesn't tell us that Adam actually told God about it. It could be a need that was internal in him, a need that was not verbalized but was felt. And the thing is, sometimes you have a need and you don't even know you have the need, but there is something inside of you that is crying, I need somebody, I need a partner, I need a husband, I need a wife, without even talking about it. So that is the picture you get, that God intends that the marriage relationship should be had on the basis of a need. And that's how I can understand it.
So do you believe that God, when God created Eve, he created her to be Adam's wife or just friend?
Well, so the question then would be, what need was observed? Was it a need for a friend? And when Adam observes the animals and they're going male and female, is he observing friendship or he's observing something else? I think he's observing beyond friendship. Because in terms of friendship, of course, the animals can be friends with each other. The dog and the cat can be friends, but they can't marry.
That's right.
So I think the need observed is beyond friendship. And what Adam is crying for will include friendship, but goes beyond friendship because it also leads to procreation and the growth of the human kind. So I think a marital partner is envisaged in the need that God observes.
we grew up in a generation where a lot of people believe that or feel like relationships are disposable. If someone does something to you, you can easily walk away and find another friend or find another partner. Can you speak to the importance of relationships in God's plan? Where does that where does he see that in our lives, and how do we even interact with that?
I think if we go back to the biblical account, because the Bible has given us the framework for how we should understand relationships. So there is a certain divine aspect of it, because this is God observing something in man that man feels, but he is not even able to articulate. And so we can't envisage that God is then giving man a temporary relief, a short term relief. Oh, he needs a partner, but let me give him something he can play with for the time being and then later dispose of. I don't see that as a character of God. So there is eternality in God. So what he does for us and what he initiates does not have a short-term temporal fulfillment. It has to be something that is long-term. So from that framework, I can then say that the intention of God's supply of a partner for a person is not supposed to be frivolous, is not supposed to be something that is short term, it's supposed to be something that is long term.
Thank you so much, Doc. We'll take a live question.
Okay, so in relation to relationships being disposable, how can young couple learn to embrace commitment without feeling trapped?
I still would go back to where we started, the Genesis account. So Adam and Eve Adam is in Eden. He has a need. God supplies him an option. An interesting God doesn't say what he should do with that. He brings this woman into his life. So then he has to determine, what's this person going to be to me? What role is she going to play in my life? And she says, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. In other words, this is part of me. And she would be called part of me. So, because she was taken from me. So Adam is saying, in essence, this is somebody I embrace fully into my life, somebody who must be permanent in my life. Now, if we bring that into a concept of somebody saying, this is, I will feel trapped. Everybody is trapped. We are trapped as human beings in this world. I don't live on Mars, and I can't go to live on Mars. I can't go to another galaxy to live. I'm trapped here to this earth. I'm trapped in the human body. So everybody lives a life where they are limited to something. And marriage limits us. But in limiting us, it expands us.
That's good.
So that instead of having a frivolous surface relationship, you can have a deeper relationship. It's like living with somebody, staying with somebody in a room for a very long time. And over time, you find that you get to know the person better. You talk deeper, and you have a far better relationship than somebody you talk to 5 minutes and move on to talk to another person 5 minutes and talk to another person 5 minutes. You may cover a lot of ground, but the need in you would not be satisfied, because you're not just looking for covering ground. You're looking for somebody you can say, bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. Somebody I can really say is deeply involved in my life. And human beings are created for deep involvement, and deep involvement cannot be shallow.
Wow. I love that so much. I love that Adam says, "This is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh." It gives the impression that Adam knows himself as bone. He knows himself as flesh. He's done the work of knowing who he is. So he can identify someone who is like him. And so what do you think the importance of singleness is? There's work that we have to do when we are single. And what do you think part of that work is?
And I think it still go back to the Genesis
Yeah.
story. And as I said, you wonder, why didn't God create Adam and Eve together at the same time? I mean, but the narrative tells us that there is a stage of singleness and there's a stage of marriage. Singleness to get to know yourself, get to know your strengths, get to know your weaknesses, get to know your abilities, your inabilities, get to know what you can do and what you can't do. And pretty soon you begin to realize, yeah, I know myself. I know I can do so much, and on my own I can manage so much. But I really think I would function better if I get somebody to share my life with. So the process of singleness is a process of discovery, of self-discovery, so that when somebody comes into your life, you can appreciate them the more and the better. So I think the Bible's narrative is telling us we're going to start our lives as singles. And in that single space of our lives, we're going to be doing something. Adam was doing something. He was tending the Eden. He's naming animals. So you're involved. You're involved in a vocation. You're building your life. But as you build, you realize I need more than just me. I need to share my life with somebody. And God brings somebody your way. But you have to be able to embrace the person. And embracing a person into your life is always risky, because people you embrace into your life can mess up your life.
Yeah.
And can disturb your peace and the stability you've built as a single person, can disrupt the order of things in your life, the way you live your life. But that's the risk we take as adults in a responsible relationship. And I think that it mirrors marriage in a very profound way. Marriage is not for immature people.
Yeah.
Is for people who have a settled view about themselves and are still ready to embrace somebody else into their lives because they want to share what they have with other people.
How do you know you are ready? I think that's one of the questions that a lot of people have. How do I know that I have stewarded being single well? I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, I am in a vocation. The men who say, I have enough money. How do you know you are ready? How do you know you've done all of this and now you're ready to get married or to date?
I think the big question everybody has to ask is, am I ready to share? You have achieved something, you've built something, or even if you haven't achieved much,
Yeah.
are you ready to share your life? The people who don't know how to share are kids who have something and they want to hold on to it. They have a toy they don't want to share.
Sure.
They have a gadget they don't want to share. But adults share. Now, if you are at that point in your life where you think, I'm still self-absorbed, I want my time for me, I want my money for me, I want my experience for me, I don't want anybody to mess up my life, I don't want anybody to intrude in my life, please don't bring anybody
Stay
into
single,
your life.
yes.
Stay single.
That's right.
Love yourself. Be nice to yourself.
That's right.
Buy yourself your toys.
Simple.
But if you get to the point where you realize, I have all of these things, but I'm not complete, and I need to share what I have. Not I need somebody into my life, but I need to share what I have with somebody else. It is at that point that you can say you are ready for marriage.
Wow. I love that. We take a live question.
All right, Doc. My name is Andrew, and as young people, we always have expectations, what we popularly call specs. Now, I want to find out how can young people discern whether our expectations are in alignment with God's word, rather than societal pressures or our own desires.
So we go back to Genesis. so then we ask ourselves, did Adam have specs? Of course, I don't think he really has specs. Maybe he had specs. He observed animals, and he probably said, I need somebody who looks like me.
Yeah.
I need somebody who has 2 feet like me.
Yeah.
I need somebody who has probably my complexion. I need somebody I can talk to. I need somebody I can think with.
Yeah.
I need somebody I can rule this garden with. I need,
So
so he's, so if he has specs, this would be it. So he sees what God gives him, and following your lead, then he says, "That's my spec. This what I'm looking for. This is what my heart is crying for." So this expectation of people sometimes can be very frivolous. Life is just deeper than some of the physical things we are looking for, because you're looking for somebody to share your life with, and somebody you can truly give of yourself to. So what spec is that? Does the person have to be kind? Does he have to be generous? Does the person have to be spiritual, prayerful? What are you looking for? Ultimately, you're looking for somebody you can share your life with. If you go with a tall list of physical attributes, educational attributes, and all of that, but you can't share your life with a person, then it doesn't spec well.
The spec is not specking. So let's say you go out on a date with a potential person. What kind of conversation should you be having to know that maybe the spec is specking or the spec will not spec?
Different people respond differently. There are people who are not good conversationalists, but they are good human beings.
That's so good.
But they're not good conversationalists. And you go and sit with them, you may end up saying, this is not it. But it could be the person.
Yeah.
It's just they don't know how to do conversation well. So I think sometimes it takes more than just one event to know a person. And I think getting to know people in non-conventional ways helps. And by that I mean where there's no agenda.
Yeah.
Because when you go on a date, there's an agenda. You need to perform well. You need to speak well. But you meet somebody in a group, maybe in a Bible study, in a youth group, wherever, and there's no agenda. You're just two human beings functioning within a context. And in that place, you are yourself and you're expressing yourself. And I think we learn character when people are not pretending, when people are not pretentious, when people are not conscious that they are being marked or studied for approval or disapproval. We are ourselves best. So I think it shouldn't start even with going on a date with people. It should start with functioning within the space you function in. And if you're a Christian, let's say you are in church, you are now in the youth church, you are a teenager, just going to church, singing, worshiping, doing whatever you do, going for a youth camp. All of that is a safe way of getting to know people. And pretty soon, you're going to see people that you think work well with you. And as you grow more into adulthood, one or two people will stand out as people who you think you have a deeper connection to. And you feel that, I can live with this person for the rest of my life and not be bored. And so that happens. Of course, as you grow older, if you want to get married, it becomes complicated because these atmospheres are difficult. You work somewhere, the person works somewhere else.
Yeah.
You don't meet, somebody just connects you. So then everything is about performance
Yeah.
and approval. And I think there's a lot of pretense that goes on in those circumstances.
So you have a group of friends, you realize that I like this particular person or these groups or this two people, for instance. How do you know to take the step towards one of them? How are you figuring it out?
Well, I mean, the big thing about relationship is, how do I make my intentions known?
How do you shoot your shots?
Yes. And how do I make my intention known in a way that makes sense? And so, how do I make my intentions known so I'm not rejected? And it works both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a young lady and you like somebody, you don't want to come across as forcing too much. So, how do I make my intentions known? So, you're trying to send very subtle signals, hoping the person catches it. But if the person too is a blunt person, then they're not catching it.
Yes. Yes.
So then, should I push more? Should I do more? And if you're a man, you're going through the same thing. I mean, you're doing a little, dropping hints here and there, and hoping that the person is picking up, because people, respond differently. Sometimes you can't tell what a
Yeah.
person is. So there's always the unknown. You're going to put yourself out there, and you're going to hope that
It lands.
it lands well. So I think, for speaking for young men, for every man who has proposed to a lady,
Yeah.
you go through, no matter how you feel, no matter how the relationship has developed, the day you're going to pop the question,
Yeah.
you're not sure whether you'll be rejected or not, because you can't be 100% that this person is feeling the same way you are feeling.
Yeah.
So what if Adam says, "This is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh," and Eve says, hey, wait a minute, I just arrived, I just came to the garden, please give me time, I don't want to commit to anything.
right.
I mean, that's a possibility.
is.
I mean, she could have said, hey,
Yeah.
where do I know you from? I don't know you from Adam.
But it's so interesting because how, like, you're talking to a guy, the guy asks you to date, date you, and then some women say, "I want to pray about it." Eve didn't really say, "Let me talk to God," though, so maybe I don't know where that fits into the whole situation. But they say, "I want to pray about it," and maybe they pray 1 month, 2 months, almost 1 year. What do you do with all of those things?
Maybe the question came a bit too suddenly.
Shock.
And sometimes people's way of saying no is, "Let me pray about it." It's Christianese
Yes.
of saying,
Yes.
"Back off."
Yeah.
So if the person says, "Let me pray about it," and they're over praying,
Yeah.
they are sending you a very nice Christian message. It's not working. But normally when people pray about, Christians pray before they make decisions, and this is a big one.
Yeah.
And even if you think you like the person, you want to really be sure spiritually, am I doing the right thing? Is this what God wants? Is it God's will? So the "let me pray about it" is a nice thing. Only it should not be used as a euphemism for rejection. If it's not going to work, then very quickly take the person out of his misery, so that he doesn't carry this hope which would never be fulfilled.
Never, ever. What about the guy, Doc, that says that, "Oh, God revealed you to me. God said I should marry you"? What do we do about those guys too? Because there are lots in the system.
There are sisters too who do that. There are sisters, young sisters, who also say,
Justice for the sisters.
God has revealed it. I saw it in a dream. I try not to use that language. And I think people shouldn't use that language. It's a coercive language. In other words, it's a way in which you are trying to corner a person against their will. When you bring God in, or you bring a supernatural dimension in, if you're going to be accepted, you should be accepted because the person likes you, not because they feel compelled by God, to marry you. I don't think marriage is a mission field where we are called, to go and win souls, and we are compelled to preach the gospel. I think it's a will issue, and we have to learn to be nice human beings without becoming spooky Christians with a language that makes us look weird.
Yeah.
And although we think we are being spiritual, people see us as not being reasonable and being sensible. So I would say take the spiritual language out of it and just say, build a relationship. Naturally, relationships get to a point where it looks more likely that the two of you are going to be a partner together.
Awesome. Thank you, Doc. We take a question.
Hi, my name is Benjamin. And my question is, if you could give one non-negotiable principle for a long-lasting relationship, what would it be?
For a Christian, it is that the person must share your faith. The person, that's non-negotiable. Because your faith is your deepest value. It's what you consider most important. It is the fountain of your choices. If you're a Christian and you're a serious Christian, your choices, your preferences, your desires are all driven by what you believe, your faith. So it's important that you share your faith with that person. Other things you can negotiate, but at the faith level, it's very difficult to negotiate anything outside of the faith. You may even love each other very much, but even how do you define love? What is the basis of love? Because your faith determines what love is, who God is, who's your ultimate authority, where do you draw inspiration from, how do you make this decision, and so on and so forth. So I think that's non-negotiable.
Doc, where do you think the role of mentors or people that we are accountable to play from dating to marriage and all of that in our relationships?
Christian practice is that there is no sexual relations outside of marriage. So our relationships are going to be platonic until marriage. But that doesn't mean that there will be no attraction to each other. So how do you manage that? How do you manage your feelings for each other? And that's why accountability comes in. First, accountability to yourself. You must be accountable to yourself to say, I'm a Christian. These are my value systems. And this is what my relationship is supposed to be. I want to share my life with somebody, but there is this aspect that is reserved for this period of the relationship. So that's personal accountability. I think there has to be accountability between you and the person. If especially you know that you've proposed and the two of you have accepted and you know you're going to marry in the future, then the two of you must make a vow to each other not to put yourselves in a situation that compromises you. So you have to determine the boundaries of your relationship. When are we going to be together? Under what circumstance are we going to be together? What happens when we are in a room? Do we keep the door open? Do we even have to be in a room by ourselves? Do we sleep over in each other's places overnight? I mean, these are commitments you have to make to each other. And why is that important? Because you're going to be married for life. And if you don't have that commitment to each other early enough, then even after you marry, there'll be no commitment. Your marriage will be boundaryless. And that can lead into all kinds of extramarital activity. So the commitment to each other to yourself, to each other. And of course, you can make commitment to third parties. It could be a mentor, could be an older couple, it could be parents, and say, we are going together, but we want to really do it right. We want to do it God's way. We want you to watch over us, query us, call our attention to something. When you are uneasy with something, let us know. Give somebody the permission to speak into your life. And it has to be a trusted person who doesn't impose wrong expectations on you. But you need, sometimes you need a third person.
Thank you so much. We'll take another question.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Lois. And Doc, please, looking back to when you were our age and preparing for marriage, what wisdom do you now wish you had embraced earlier? And if you had that understanding then, what would you do differently? Thank you.
I don't want to brag. Not much, really. I didn't do anything then that I would do differently. I gave my life to Christ very early, and I committed to Christ with my life in terms of morality very early. The only lady I proposed to is the one I married. I didn't propose to 10, and I knew people, but there was only one person I committed to, fell in love with, and at the time I did, and married. Just one. So that's it. Not everybody may have their life that way, and I don't presume that everybody's story will be the same. Sometimes it's best to do the right thing right from the beginning, once and for all, than to do revision. But if you have to do revision, of course you can try and do it better another time. All I can say is, don't rush into relationships. Get to know yourself well. Get to know God well. If you choose to marry, be ready to make major adjustments in your life to bring that person into your life. And you must be ready to share. You must be ready to give of yourself, give of your time, give of your affection, give of your emotion, give of your ego. You have to be ready to forgive. You have to be ready. I mean, the whole of the donation of your life to somebody else, you have to be ready for that. If you are self-centered, selfish, marriage will never work for you. You have to be ready to donate your life and to say that I'm doing life with this person and I'm doing everything to make it possible for it to happen. And those are the choices I made.
That's a good one. So, Doc, if you raised 3 girls. I happen to be one of them. And if we were single and trusting God for, a husband, and I'm sure there are so many people like that watching us, or trusting God for a wife, how would you approach now? What kind of advice would you give us? I want you to give that to the viewers.
Well, I mean, to the young ladies, it's always difficult for young ladies in marriage because, it's immodest for you to go out there and propose to somebody. Women are mostly disadvantaged because they have to wait for somebody to gather their courage. So either men are not courageous, then the women are disadvantaged. I would say if you're a woman, just live your life, enjoy your life, tend your garden, take care of your job, your responsibility, your education. Be happy with yourself. Because in your happiness, you become attractive. in your fulfillment, you become attractive. If you are needy, you may repel people. So it's always good for somebody to know this lady is happy with her life. And I think the most attractive women are those who are happy with their lives. They are the ones whom people want to spend their life with. But if the person is not happy, they are always on edge and they're always over eager, then everybody say, hey, watch it. She'll give you trouble, high maintenance and all of that. So be happy with your life. I mean, and with the men, the same thing. Be happy with your life. Be happy with your life and be courageous.
Amen.
A lot is expected from men in the marriage equation because they play a role of decision making in marriage that requires that they be very mature and stable in thought and even in temperament so that they can steer the family right. So for the men, be happy with your life, but mature very quickly and be courageous. And when it's time, let God lead you to some willing woman and build a good life with them. Well, thank you so much for sharing the time with us, and we'll keep talking, and I'll see you again.
Thank you so much for your time. Kindly like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Stay blessed.